Welcome to Reactive Film. We're screening The Last Mountain, directed by Bill Haney and produced by Clara Bingham. This movie is on coal mining in America and the effects that it has on our environment. So welcome and enjoy the film. So we have a very important activist here among us, and she got very interested in this, this issue. If you could just tell the audience how it really came to your door and how you got involved.
The mountaintop removal mining was so extreme. It was accelerating at a very high pace. We were in the middle of the Bush administration, and they had loosened all of the regulatory laws to allow it to happen. And people there were, frustrated and angry and sick. And I realized this would only happen in West Virginia and Eastern Kentucky because no one cares. And I thought the only way to make a difference would be to make a movie about it. In local places like in West Virginia, coal is only cheaper on your electricity bill, but it's extremely expensive. And if you factor in the true cost of coal, it would be much higher than wind. But in terms of what we have to pay for, wind still has a hard time competing, and it's because we subsidize coal. If you add the healthcare, the water pollution, everything that coal creates, it's actually extremely expensive and wouldn't be able to compete with wind and solar. But it's just a question of getting solar off the ground, subsidizing it as well, which I think it ought to be, so that it can compete on a fair level, playing field. I've spent a lot of time in Shippingport, Pennsylvania, which is in the movie a little bit, and they have a huge unlined pond called Little Blue. People there are just beginning to realize that their water supply is contaminated, and there's a very large amount of cancer and other illnesses caused by heavy metal that are starting to crop up. And there are towns like that all over, especially in Pennsylvania and Ohio, where there are just huge amounts of these power plants. There are a lot of toxic towns. And coal ash has not been designated a toxic substance by the EPA. And that's another thing that's waiting to be changed, and it can be done just by writing the law without going to the Hill. But it's also extremely politically difficult to change the official designation of coal ash, which is what's in those ponds.
Coal mining contaminates your drinking water. We all depend on water, clean water. Where are we gonna airship that in from? Canada, like we're gonna be dependent on everything else. So I think through health and through, trying to stay and keep our waters clean, I think also this issue will definitely, affect other people all around, and not just people who live with Coal Mountain right behind.
And there's actually this one event that's coming up. It's the 90th anniversary of the Blair Mountain March, which was a huge labor war, essentially, that the miners in West Virginia waged against the mining companies, and about 100 miners were killed. They were armed, and they stormed Blair Mountain. They were upset about the working conditions. And that mountain, Blair Mountain, is slated for mountaintop removal. And so it's the 90th anniversary, and on June 6th, about 1,000 people are convening and are going to recreate this 5-day march from Charleston up to Blair Mountain to try to save the mountain and turn it into a National Historic Register. But a lot of the people in this march are miners who were members of the UMWA, because it's such an important piece of labor history. And of course, the UMWA is all for mountaintop removal. So it's been an interesting process of getting the environmentalists and the union members to come together to save this one mountain. But it actually is also starting a conversation between the union and the environmentalists who haven't agreed at all on the subject of mountaintop removal. And I'm hoping it might be a way in. We're screening the movie then down in Charleston.
Thank you, Clara Bingham, so much for being here. Thank you.